Previously on Metropolis. I came to Singapore chasing a question. How do we build community in a modern city? From the soaring skyline to neighborhood void decks. And the architects, urbanists, and everyday citizens all reshaping the notion of how we can live together. I learned how density can be designed for dignity, how Kampong spirit still lives through steel and concrete, and how third places, these informal spaces between work and home, might just be the soul of a city. Then I chanced upon a simple, multi-purpose hall in Bukit Panjang, a blank slate, a starting point, and that inspired me. What if I could reimagine Segar Hall as a potential third place in the future? Now, the challenge begins. To come up with a design for a space that people would love and actually want to use and return to over and over again. I'm headed back to Los Angeles, where I'll be working with my team to shape this third place, drawing on everything I've experienced in Singapore so far.
At the beginning of most projects, we start with a research and then design process where we brainstorm some ideas and then we visit the site and also think through, how we can start to adjust the design more appropriately to the context. With this project being also part of a documentary, we're trying to do it all at one trip, which is always challenging. So I know you just started the site is super interesting. One side is this really beautiful greenery.
My first reaction when I looked at the existing pavilion is it does a really good job of providing a big assembly space. But if you go there and you really want to sit in an intimate corner or you want to be able to look out at the space of the garden, it doesn't do that very well. And I think we need ways that sort of take that garden space, bring it into there, create more intimate settings.
While I was in Singapore, when I visited the different estates, I felt like the planning of it was really well done. I really understood how they were trying to set up public spaces within high-density buildings. However, I felt like there was room for perhaps more unique solutions within each of the states. Like, for example, the needs of the community might be different, or the landscape, or the context. And I really felt like it shouldn't be a kind of cookie-cutter solution depending on your design, and maybe when you had our approach to design is not so straightforward. It's never about here are the things we need to put in and then just put it all together. It's always a kind of back and forth between, thinking through what could be a possible design for this project and then working through it and seeing if it works. And a lot of times it doesn't, and it takes many, many iterations for the design to be where it is. The design process is just long and challenging part of what I do as an architect.
I thought I could finish this design in LA, but the more I work on it, the more I realize the answers aren't on my computer screen. They're back in Singapore. So it looks like I'm going to be heading back there earlier than I thought.
So I came to Singapore with some basic design principles that I saw when I looked at the site. And so some of the ideas were about this connectivity between the buildings and nature. The existing building was a big shed, and it felt very separated from nature on one side and also separated from the buildings. Then I thought about the idea of an elevated platform, one that can bring people, creating a ramp that from the park, they can come up and through. And then on the interior, how do we bring some of the programming in here? So these are some of the initial ideas I had, and I had my team model it because I wanted to see it and then kind of bring it to the site and think about it some more.
Digging into Singapore's planning history, I realized building for community has always been part of the vision. Decades ago, they were already designing for diversity and connection. That kind of foresight, rare and inspiring.
In Singapore in particular, there are people belonging to different generations, people belonging to different races, and if one is not careful, one can very easily overlook the fact that a person belonging to another generation comes from a different race is likely to look at life differently. And the planner, if he's not careful, is imposing his own values upon a situation. We conducted a 2-day survey. We have asked our workers to ask them a total of about 11 questions. Because without the answers to what may appear to be silly questions, we may be planning on false assumptions, and that is a very dangerous thing to do.
It wasn't just about buildings, it was about society. And that's the part I need to get right.
And how old are you?
I am 11 this year. 9, 10.
And do you live around here?
Yeah, we just moved there.
There?
Yeah.
And do you go to school here too?
Yeah, it's there.
I'm an architect. I design buildings and big spaces. What would you put in?
I will put in a small little area of those ramps and staircase and everything.
Oh,
Mostly parks, because then it can accommodate more activities, like larger scale activities.
I also like how it's a shared space where instead of just like one person using it, like a lot of people, as you can see around. There's kids playing football. It gives off the vibe that it's really a neighbourhood.
So we're actually a community library, and every shelf you see here is rented and run by a different person. You know, I could sense that people were really trying to connect through the shelves. So I thought it would be amazing if I could have a library like that in Singapore.
what do you like about the space you are in right now?
My favorite part is definitely the flying fox part. I always go there with my brothers and then we'll like sit on each other, then we'll push each other.
Does it get all sandy?
Then when we get all sandy, so I like to usually come and wash ourselves at the water park.
That's so smart. So you have a routine. You start at the sand and then you go to water. If you had a bigger space, or can you imagine doing things maybe differently or host events?
The main thing we want to do is to exist. To exist as a space like this in Singapore is not easy already.
So do your friends come and meet here like
Yes,
after
yeah.
school? And so then you wait for them and
And
you
we all
guys...
play together.
Oh, that's so great. There's a hall right down there where it's covered. Do you ever go in there?
No.
No.
It's too small for us.
Yeah.
Talking to the young people here, I see what's missing in their daily lives. They're not asking for a fancy skyline. They just want spaces nearby to connect, play, and breathe. Bishan Park showed me how nature can change everyday life, but it's not just parks. There are community gardens sprouting up all over Singapore. I'm meeting Ganesh at Woodlands Botanical Garden to see how a small green space anchored a neighborhood.
The last 20 years or so, a lot of the new estates have gardens catered. We provide that space both for physical and your mental health as well. Yeah, so the community uses this space for a lot of things. Okay, so if you see the Woodlands Botanical Garden, I think the initial plan is very different from what you see now. We worked a lot with nature and nature experts to plan this garden, to bring a biodiversity garden together It involves a lot of people. And another thing is that we always wanted to make this a more community space. So we had to create spaces where the community would come and gather, sit down, enjoy the space. So we must make sure that both elements are present, you know. We make sure that the elements for nature are present as well as for community.
And so this place is alive because, you know, it's growing based on what people's needs, and they're trying to make it their own, you know, like, it's just like how this community builds its own public space, right?
Exactly. A misconception many people have, right, is that a garden is for gardeners. You know, that's the first idea I'm trying to throw out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that a garden is a community space, and we have to acknowledge that. Yeah, just arts, music, all these things accessible to the public, you know, so people just come and enjoy, don't worry about paying for stuff. And yeah, I always tell people, yes, we have this term kampung spirit, but to me it's just humanity, right? You know, us looking out for each other, providing for each other. Not just community, but I think it's very family.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think I have two takeaways. One is about the garden itself, and I think that, you know, a lot of times we want to plan everything, and that this feels like it was, you know, made a space and the community planned itself. And I think there's something to be said about, you know, how you could make a space and let it go. And I think that's really beautiful. I think the second thing is the garden's relationship to, you know, the buildings around it. Similar to Bishan Park, but maybe even in a more integrated way. That these gardens are like somehow wedged into the urban fabric, and that, you know, I think there's something really also lovely about the lack of separation between community spaces and the buildings. So that feathering effect that I was talking about, I think this does it really well.
A space is just a space until people make it a place. That's what I really need to figure out. Who comes here? What do they do? What makes them stay? To get a sense of that, I'm going to Ground Up Initiative, a legacy community where people have been fostering the kampung spirit for years.
So tell me a little bit more about Ground Up Initiative. How did you get started?
It started by a group of volunteers who believe that Singapore need a recreation space, not so much built up, and they can go there on the weekend for just basic farming. Yeah. So that was all the way back in 2009.
We have people coming in from all walks of life, and they'll be doing things that is good for Earth. I always tell people the most popular activity at GOI when people come is farming, because it's something that is very rare in Singapore. So when they come, they either choose to help out on the farm, or they could helping out at the workshop where they will upcycle wood waste, and they will help to process all these waste to turn it into materials that can be used again.
So our vision is to have many small GOIs in different estates with the same mission of protecting the environment. Yeah, doing something physical work, all right, that will improve their mental health, physical health, better connection with nature.
我来这里做大概是4年多了，因为在家没事做啊，你要是一直待在家里，人久了痴呆掉，所以来这边呢是打发时间。收获就是说，我们日子容易过哦，那么来这里很多朋友，很容易打发时间，很快乐。
You know, to pass my time or to give back to society, right? Yeah, why not give a try on woodwork? We are very interested in woodwork. So I find that all these timber are recycled here and there. You know? Yeah, it's good to save the world. Yeah.
I feel like what's really powerful about where you guys are started, it's like you started a way of being part of the world, like being an active participant, you know, like even if they go to another community, they feel like they're empowered to do something, you know, and I think that seems to me is what you guys are starting, and then it kind of grows itself, right?
Yes.
Empowerment is a very, very important thing. But again, it's a very romantic idea. Yeah. So we empower all of our volunteers to have a go at not just building up the space, but designing the space as well. Especially for the students, I always tell them that if you don't know how to build, don't bother designing. A lot of these students, they are coming to the space, working together with the community to do very, very simple things before they even think about, putting a building together.
I would like to just add on, we can see many community gardens coming out in different estates. Community gardens are there because we want to bring people in, not to really plant vegetables.
Right.
Yeah, the end result should be bring people together, yeah, and protect the environment.
I really feel the work they're doing is quite rewarding for the community. I think they are bringing the community closer to the craft of making. And I think that's really important because we are disconnected from the craft. Knowing how things are made makes you appreciate the architecture even more.
I'm thinking a lot about how memories and connections shape our experiences in a space. That's what makes a third place matter. I'm meeting photographer Finbar Fallon, who captures such memories in neighborhoods like Tiong Bahru.
Hey,
Finn.
Jenny, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Tiong Bahru.
So how did you get into photography?
I've been practicing photography since I was a child. I've always been very curious about the world. Architecture has always interested me, the way it shapes how we live and the way it's evolved over time, and capturing that through photography allows me to capture those moments and freeze them in time in a city that's constantly evolving. One of the long-term photographic projects I've been working on is called Unit. It's been about interviewing residents and understanding from them what it's like to live in apartments in Singapore, because I think a lot of the time architectural photography tells the exteriors very well, but you never quite hear the voice of the residents that stay in apartments like this. Let's go and meet my wife Claire. She's an urban geographer and she can lend some fascinating insights to the neighbourhood.
Sounds great.
In the local spaces, it was set up as such to kind of be gathering spaces for people who live around here to readily sort of get together and meet each other and build up those sort of neighbourly interactions. But I think the architecture and the kind of use mix that's kind of sprung up over time has really also been a draw in itself to people from outside to come in here. It's just such a charming neighbourhood, I suppose. It has like a real mix of like the old bit and then the new bit with the high rises around it. I think we really liked that kind of contrast, I suppose.
When you have old and new together, it really creates new opportunities. And I think having that mixture is very dynamic spatially. You walk through the streets and it's a vibe you get. I always find juxtapositions really fascinating, and I suppose Singapore is a city of juxtapositions because it developed so rapidly that you have these layers of history all kind of talking to each other, and there's a dialogue there, and it's these connections and dialogues which I really want to capture in my photography.
My experience at Tiong Bahru was really insightful. I really like when we were in the Horseshoe building, even though we were in the back of the building instead of sort of the front. There was something kind of charming and playful about just seeing the back of the buildings and, the sculptural staircases, some angled, some spiral. There was something kind of more magical about it.
I was thinking we could take a walk around New Bahru. It's a new lifestyle destination which uses adaptive reuse of an old school building.
Oh, the new bar. The new bar. All right, let's do this.
Tempted by your eyes, drop the curtain, drop the curtain. See, no one ever changes, no one. Farewell and goodbye.
So we first saw the space about 10 years ago. And we really fell in love with it because so much of the original brutalist architecture remained. It was very much untouched. It was the old Nanqiao High School, and it's basically been a place of education for over 60 years. So this is where the service apartments are, so it's like 2 floors. And actually above, that's where the science labs are. The original science labs, yeah. Actually above, that's where the library is, the barrel vault ceilings. And then the school hall over there, the school hall was still the school hall. It even had the old mosaic tiles, the stage, and even the school chairs that the children used to sit on. And so our hope is that we will be able to continue to protect the integrity of the space, but also continue its legacy as a place for enjoyment, for learning and excitement. So this project, New Baru, has been almost 4 to 5 years in the making for creating something truly different for Singapore, because we felt that there is this perception that our city is very clean, green, efficient, you know, sometimes,
Which it is.
Which it is, and sometimes strict and by the books. But we felt that there is this growing sentiment of challenging the norm, of doing something different, of being extremely passionate, creative, and even ever more so in the lifestyle space, I feel. With New Baru, we wanted to bring together this new creative community. So bring together, right now we've got over 40 different tenants, and all of them are made in Singapore brands. So even though, you know, we never matchmake any of our tenants, a lot of them have started doing their own forms of collaboration. We've got Rai, which is a women's fashion label, doing the uniforms for Atypical, which is the cafe on the first floor.
Oh, okay.
So, or like Crafune, which is a leather making workshop, husband and wife duo, who are doing the menus for Soma, which is a fine dining Italian restaurant. We never really said like, you need to do this and that, but somehow in bringing the right people together, as long as they have the right spirit and intention, they will find a way.
Through Tanya, I'm meeting a few of the tenants to see how they're helping to shape this New Baru creative community.
I was fortunate to be maybe the very first tenant that I saw the space. Yes, and it was just like a very nice sense of belonging right away, even though I didn't know the project on a bigger scale.
I feel like moving to New Baru was a very easy decision. It was an easy sell for us to come here. Artichoke's been I always liken this to a living situation in Bras Basah for a long time. We were there for 13 years.
I know, I was there.
I know, we've seen it so many times. And when it was finally time for us to move out, we were always thinking, what would be a nice home for us, a new home for us? And we didn't want to go to one of those concrete jungle cookie cutter malls, right? So when we were introduced to the idea of this space and knowing that we would be with like-minded small operators, I think it gave us the confidence to say that we would fit well here because we're all about new ideas, we're all about new energy, and we're about introducing new things to new people.
And it just feels good to be part of it now, where everybody's really coming together to put out there something for the people and done by the people. So it just feels amazing as we are part of something that is a collective.
I really love the energy and passion you have about, what you do. And, I find that that's similar to how I am because, I love what I do. I'm an architect and I try to design, the built environment. I try to bring people in and I think about how they might occupy this space and just the way that you guys made it your own and that it feels different.
We've been able to see the amazing change. I mean, it was a building before, and a building is really just walls and floors and streets and trees and whatnots, but it is what is inside that gives it life. And I love how you talk about the intention of this and the necessity for spaces like this.
Yeah.
I'm Singaporean and I live here and I've lived here my entire life, and I feel like it is so important to have spaces like this so that you can breathe and be something else.
This really shapes the neighborhood. As I have guests that they come and they were like, I'm gonna tell you something. Beside the fact that the food was amazing, the experience is amazing, this used to be my dance class
Oh.
place.
Yeah, I know, I get that a
So
lot.
they were
Yeah.
like,
our restaurant, it used to be the general office. So I used to be people would come by, would walk by the restaurant and say, when I was a naughty kid in school, I used to stand outside the office and get yelled at. Or they have so many connections to the physical space, and to see them come back and explore the space, it brings a lot of joy to my heart knowing that they don't forget these stories.
What I like about this country, what I like about Singapore, I actually love about Singapore, is that since day one, I never felt a stranger. You know, the experiences that really bring people together. So the sense of community has always been there. And the idea of, being part of something that is bigger than us, right? It just feels so good. And I like the fact that everything constantly around me is changing, and then gives me the opportunity to evolve also as a person, because I change with the city.
In Tiong Bahru, you feel it in the old walls and everyday routines. In New Bahru, it's creatives and entrepreneurs who are building new stories. Both show me that when people connect to a place, it becomes something more than just architecture. That's the kind of energy I want for my third place. When people think about design, they see the shape. Architects, we see systems, software, structure, materials, maintenance, all connected. In Singapore, technological innovation is fully embraced. I am going to see how tech can help inform my design of a third place that people will want to use. I'm not here to let AI design for me. I'm here to see how it can speed up the part where my idea becomes a shape, without losing the human touch.
So the idea was to create an interface that is more intuitive, that is able to take your thoughts, your ideas, your vision through simple shapes, and the model is able to intuitively understand your intention and to create something realistic. So one of the things I'm focusing on is to bridge the gap from ideation to the final, let's say, design, to try to basically shorten that path that typically is very painful, but also to empower our students and designers with more creativity and more control, so they're able to own what they produce.
Wow, that sounds really amazing, but I gotta see it.
So actually the interface is very simple. You have just on the left-hand side is like your left brain, like when you think. The right is gonna be your interpretation.
Wow,
exactly.
that's
Yes.
really cool. So your process will help iterate faster, but also give a kind of visualization of what it could be. Can you show me a project you've been working on?
Sure, yeah. So for instance, this project we are using to test our models is a piece of furniture that we designed, creating simple lines, smooth lines inspired by a flower. So we call it Blossom Chair. So the Blossom Chair, this is the final outcome of the chair. And from here, we're able to produce a proxy, a simple 3D model that can be 3D printed in any of these printers. And as you can see, it's not perfect, but we quite enjoy that it is not a final one. It's a proxy, and basically we need to keep working on that.
I really love that because it brings back the human touch.
So that's what we also want, is to empower people to still be active, not just outsource anything to AI, right?
But places aren't just seen, they're experienced and felt. This lab measures that. If I can read their comfort and stress levels as people move through the space, I can fine-tune my design further.
Right, so this is our research lab. We call it the Artificial Architecture Lab. And so what we do is mainly at the intersection of AI and architecture. So architecture in the broadest sense, across different scale, from urban planning, where we work on predictive AI, generative architecture, where we do some more experimental form generation, or furniture. At the furniture scale, we actually work with museums to create bespoke pieces for placemaking. So the Brainwave project is whether we could collect data from the brain activities as a training set to train AI models that could then serve as a kind of a proxy of how you may experience a space when, looking at it via the brainwave correlations.
So this could tell me how I feel in a space.
Yes.
And would it be more that I give it to a client, or how does it help someone like me as a designer?
Well, you can see it in two ways. As a designer, it's kind of a self-reflective mode. If it's for the client, then it's more like more predictive, right? Whether there's a high tendency that your client will like the space that you have designed for him or her.
When you think of AI, before it's like it's doing its thing, but how you're pulling it into how it relates to the human culture and how we understand space, how we understand the world. I think this is really powerful.
Good feedback isn't just surveys. This headset tracks my gaze, facial muscles, even brainwave patterns. A tiny big brother, if we're not careful. But the aim is to inform the design and not to watch people. I need to consider Singapore's tropical weather as well. While big fans are great at what they do, I'm looking for small, nature-inspired upgrades that will change how our third place feels in times of extreme heat or rainfall.
Welcome to NTU, Jenny. We are standing in front of the Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering School, and you're looking at our design of the elephant skin-inspired wall tiles.
They look like it.
Yeah, with all this texture. We've been studying how elephants cool themselves, as they live in the hot climates with very wrinkled skin. And we then mimic that skin onto the wall panels. These mycelium tiles were produced by local substrates, bamboo substrates, and there's a little bit of food waste that was mixed in it, as well as local strains of mushrooms. Also has a little bit of smell to it because of the food waste.
Really?
Yeah, you may not like it.
I'm trying to understand how to design for Singapore, and what's something interesting, inspiring that I can introduce to the work itself.
A facade, in my view, shouldn't be just a use of one design and one material, but really how do we bring it together? So it's almost like creating a biomimetic hybrid facade where all of these ideas potentially come together, and we can even cherry pick how we learn from different organisms. So we could have an elephant skin inspired tile, but really also have bumps that are inspired by the beetles, and also kind of make it work with existing technologies like green walls and better ventilation ideas and all that.
My takeaway: use biomimicry like seasoning, not sauce. Put it where it counts. Perhaps the roof skin, the outer wall, handrails, benches. Start small, prove it, repeat. Months have passed. From hawker centers to housing estates, from sky gardens to stadiums, from conversations with strangers to insights from thinkers, I've been shaped by this city and the people who call it home. Design is always a why and why not interaction. That push-pull is where new things come about, and that gave me an idea. Instead of just a static model or a feature in the documentary, I'm going to have my design live as an augmented reality interactive so that the community can walk in it, react to it, and shape it further.
Okay, so this is the design. There are moments that I thought were quite successful here. I really like the way there is this movement to the park. I think that connection is quite strong. I also like that opening, but I would probably maybe put glass over it so the rain won't get in.
It's nice when you get like eye level here that you can like see how those plants kind of create this almost feeling of like an enclosed kind of space underneath here.
So let's look at the model really quick. Maybe on the side here, on that side. Yeah, I think it's nice to make it feel really lush. So I want to capture that spirit.
Yeah, I think we should we can play around with some of this vegetation and see if we can get that feel that you're talking about.
There were so many program spaces that I wish could be in the pavilion. And so I'm wondering, as we work on the second design, can we, create more space in the back for those programs? And so what are you seeing we can fit into these spaces here?
So the idea is to keep it a little open and flexible, so it can be like a community gathering space. It can be for like bingo clubs or chess clubs and gathering people over the weekends.
I think that works well in just having a focal point. Well, I'm excited to go back. I'm hoping to bring this kind of unique design that makes people want to go there. A space that allows things, programs, the different community programs that people have, or the gardens, and set up the space for it. Allow people to own it, to adapt to it.
With my design ready, I want to show it to the people that I've met in Singapore. My quest for a third place was a personal one, but after all the conversations, it has turned into something tangible. This is a design made complete by the many voices here, and it's time for the reveal.
It's nice to see you all again. So this is the existing site, and my idea was to really maybe re-envision this pavilion to be something that might be more inclusive, things that I've learned from the project.
After visiting the Sports Hub, I was inspired to create a third place with a diverse range of programs and spaces that would cater to the various needs of the Bukit Panjang community. Kampong Admiralty also left a strong impression, with its ramps and elevation platforms that are used to draw people in. A huge part of my design focus was the roof. Not just functionally, I wanted my own artistic expression on the canopy roof. But what struck me the most in my journey were green spaces amidst the urban density like Bishan Park and Woodlands Botanical Garden. A third place can always use more of that.
Great. I think we're ready. We also thought about the basketball court as a kind of a place for artistic expression. And then there's a kind of upper area where they can watch the sports happening, but also there's a space for their own gathering. The second floor, plus now the communal spaces that are anchored the back of the building. What actually you see over here, we've kind of feather the garden into that space as it now just kind of overgrown, but now how we kind of grow, having more of a community garden on this side. Yeah. And that's it.
In terms of the whole outlook, it is completely transformed. But what is quite strategic, as what you've rightfully observed, it is a key touch point. And you know that bridges the city or this urban with nature. So I do like the way it frames the view because of your undulating roof form. That, to me, is probably the most striking.
I like this window as well, because that's the light rail. I can imagine, you know, if you're traveling along the light rail, you would look up for this building, you know, just to have a glimpse, like, oh, it's so nice, I want to look at it. You know,
Why is it here? Let's
why is it here? It's not like a usual thing, not something that you are comfortable or like you're familiar with, it's something unfamiliar, but You know, it's got this dynamic expression.
Feels like a suction cup.
And it feels like it's calling you into the building, and I feel like I really love this dynamic expression. Well, I see you've created spaces for the elderly as well, and I think that is so nice because when you bring the two generations together, you know, the energy of the youth playing basketball, the seniors watching and maybe even taking part in it, just creates that space for connection, you know. Yeah, maybe, you know, I can imagine like a nice cafe here where people can gather. So this is the kind of third space you were talking about, right? Yeah, a space that is in between the public and private, you know, and a space that people can hang out and chill rather than just always hanging out in the mall.
It's just to add to that, it's just with the quality of third places, but very purposeful programming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like what I was thinking about was that, you know, there's potentially more kind of things where you can put your art gallery out, you know, in public spaces. And so just making space that people can occupy.
I like how it kind of gently just undulates up.
It's very jarring going from the street to, you know, especially with the elevation change.
There was a much more gentle sort of first impression, and it just kind of felt very inviting.
I think what I really like is the mix of different users in that single building, and that you have a basketball court there, invites a lot of life, right? Into the building, right? So even if folks are hanging out or just by themselves, you know, there is still that backdrop of some sort of buzz, community going on.
Well, there's something to do. Sometimes, you know, we went to another estate and there were just seating around and people just like to sit, and then if there's actually a game being played, that's even more exciting.
Yeah, and I could really see the residents of this place, the neighborhood, owning it and calling it this is ours.
Yes.
Because it's so tied to the land, right?
I've been living here my whole life, and sad to say that actually this space is not well utilized in my opinion. I saw that you had the quiet study room. That's actually what I want. I've been wanting because I'm still a uni student. So when I saw that, I was like, perfect. Because you have to go all the way to Choa Chu Kang for a quiet study room. So yeah, thank you for creating such a nice space.
This really fills that gap because, you know, third places are places that people will want to go to together and create memories and have different purposes for hanging out other than being at home while at work, right? And I feel that a space like this, I would want to come play basketball or just meet a friend, hang out, chill. So I think it really serves that purpose of bringing the community together. Yeah, I really love the design of the canopy. So I love how it's not just responsive to our climate here, because we need the shade from the sun. But I love how it's so beautiful and so inviting, and I feel that that's what a space should be. You know, it should invite people in. So, question: did you get inspiration from the canopy we saw at the National Gallery?
Yes. I was gonna bring up that day when we went to visit, and I saw how it took a very underutilized space and brought people into it, and I thought, wow, that's a nice way of, you know, making a community space. So, and then also it had an artistic expression as well, and I thought this is how I might approach my canopy.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that we see something like this come to life in an estate like this. That would be so awesome.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, if we have this cigar hall to be redesigned again, I feel with the implementation that Jenny did, I think it would be quite interesting because, as I said, this space was originally a basketball court, and to have it be implemented again, it kind of shows the origins of this place, and especially during wet weather when you want to hang out with your friends, it's really quite nice.
I really love the design because I think it really shows you how you can turn a space into a place, right? You know, a place is where people come, interact, create memories, and hence, you know, have a kind of attachment to the place. And I think that's what we've been talking about when we were looking at the places, right? So people can come, interact, you know, build bonds, relationships, friendships.
I'm bringing my third place to life in augmented reality, so everyone can step in and explore it. This isn't the end, it's a starting point. We can keep fine-tuning it with the people who are going to use it. And if they keep coming back, playing, studying, bonding, then the design works. That's the real win.
I've met the most incredible people. I've learned so much about Singapore that I didn't know exists. You know, all these things have been so meaningful that, you know, in some ways I feel like the reveals, it's a lot of pressure to be like, I never thought about this show being an experiment. Okay, my shoe. How do you learn about a city, a state in 2 weeks? All of you have, you know, imprinted something in me. It was really, really nice to be able to, you know, kind of bring people back, seeing them again. It's almost like I've never left, you know, and to reconnect, and then, you know, instead of them sharing their stories with me, I'm sharing my story with them.
The question that brought me here about belonging, about designing for better futures, they exist in every metropolis. Each one with its own rhythm, its own pressures, its own heartbeat. So this isn't a goodbye. This is just the first chapter, and I'll see you in the next city.